I just wanted to do a quick lesson on a really common wine term you may be confused by from time to time, and that is warm climate wines versus cool climate wines. It came up today over dinner whilst I was sipping a Paso Robles Cabernet and tried to explain to Jeff why it tasted the way it did. I do believe he fell asleep momentarily while I described a Mediterranean climate. To be fair, he was talking about biometrics as part of the identity and access management realm. So I started talking about sunshine and phenolics and ripeness. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys real quick because, frankly, you're more engaging than talking to the Jeff over dinner. So I treated and challenged myself, I guess, to a little glass of two very different styles of Cabernet. One in this hand is Chateau Moulin Riche from Saint Julian in Bordeaux. This is the second wine for Chateau Léoville-Porfer, which is one of the second growths in Bordeaux. Very famous house with a lot of pedigree. And their second wine just means it comes from that region, but maybe younger vines or maybe not as prestigious a vineyard. But when we talk about cooler climate Cabernet, we get a little more acid. And generally from Bordeaux, you're talking about more structure, a little bit more skin tannin, but definitely more lift and more freshness and a little more elegance. So even in the nose, I can smell it's a little bit lighter on its feet. I get a little more raspberry. Like lighter, brighter currants. A hint of some blackberry. There's definitely some like oak presence, but it's not overwhelming. I would call this a dry wine for sure. And yeah, the elegance is there. Again, part of that has to do with the pedigree of Bordeaux, but really, in my experience, it has to do with the overall climate. In Bordeaux, we're talking about a maritime climate. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but that means there's more clouds and it's a little bit cooler and definitely a little bit more of a diurnal shift there, meaning the difference in temperature in day to night, right? So, that's the wine from Saint Julian. Again, this has a little more lift than the next glass I'm going to talk about. Oh, some really vibrant, like wild cherry. There's some leather, a little bit of graphite or pencil lead, sometimes you'll read. But yeah, the weight is medium plus. The elegance, the freshness, the lift. Really enjoyable glass of Cabernet blended with probably about 30% Merlot. So again, one more time, that's Chateau Moulin Riche. You'll recognize this label's the same color, same font as Chateau Léoville-Porfer, which really is going to retail 2, 3, maybe more times the price of this one. So good value there with a really good representation from Saint Julian, which I'd say Saint Julian and Margaux are probably my favorite appellations in Bordeaux if you held a gun to my head and made me pick. Please don't do that, because I also love Saint-Emilion and Pomerol. I love them all. In this other glass then, the difference is crazy. So this is what I had with dinner tonight, and I had a really great grilled ribeye with some green beans and some air-fried potato quarters. Delicious, with a little bit of onion powder, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and a pinch of paprika. Air fryer, 400 degrees, about 18 minutes, and I flip them about halfway through. Done deal. So good. But the star of the show, of course, was the ribeye. And what you want with a ribeye steak, as opposed to say a filet that's lighter and more delicate, you want a full flavored wine to attack that full flavored steak, right? So what I had is this Dow Reserve Cabernet. This is from Paso Robles, and this is their reserve bottling. You may be familiar with the label. Their workhorse cab is about 22 bucks. This one I think is about 50. And again, the difference between this one and the first wine I described is night and day, literally. This one has all those notes of cassis, which is that sort of almost syrupy currant. Like if you go to International House of Pancakes and grab the raspberry syrup and smell it, that's sort of what we mean by cassis. That's also what Chambord smells like. But tons of that here. I get a little bit of licorice, definitely a lot of ripe fruit, and the weight here is more substantial. And by weight and body, in this context, I'm talking about alcohol, right? Because alcohol is heavier than water. So higher alcohol wines feel heavier on the palate. This is really delicious. The ripeness is almost extreme. Like it's one of those high octane kinds of wines. Like if you see a Ferrari going down the street, right? Or today I saw a bright lime green McLaren going down the street in downtown Barrington. I don't know, that car's probably like $400,000, and it was bright green because that dude doesn't get enough attention at home, okay, apparently. Anyway, Paso Robles cab, really well done. Paso Robles cab is like this really sexy sports car. It's a lot of like vroom, vroom, lots of curb appeal, super sexy, very appealing. But, you know, at the end of the day, maybe not great gas mileage. And if what you want is great gas mileage, maybe you want a cooler climate wine. That's a weird analogy, but let's just go with it. So I just wanted to talk to you guys real quick about the difference in those kinds of wines. And I hope I've described it well to you. When we talk about cool climate, we usually mean more elegant, a little more restrained in fruit, higher acidity, good structure, good balance. Warmer climate wines or hot climate wines, parts of Australia and Barossa especially, Paso Robles certainly, and even further south in California, and frankly, a lot of other parts of the world because of global warming. We're talking about warm climate. It's sunshine, it's ripeness, it's alcohol, it's lots of phenolics. Grapes love heat and they love sunshine, but we also need acidity in wines. So you want to pay attention to alcohol levels. If what you're into is that big, ripe, voluptuous style, Dave Finney really made them popular in the last decade, then look for wines from Paso Robles and Southern California and what you know from geography to be warmer climate areas, the Mediterranean, like I said, Australia. If what you're looking for is wines that are more elegant and a little more restrained and pretty, then look for wines from cooler climates like Burgundy, like Bordeaux, like Washington State maybe, hopefully for at least another 10 to 12 years until it's not viable there either because it's so fucking hot. You guys, I read it was 130 degrees in Death Valley today. It really puts the death in Death Valley.
Nice. Nice, guys. High five. Yeah.
It's into the hundreds in Napa Valley and parts of Sonoma. Yucky. So almost everywhere in the wine world, we're talking about warmer climates, but the really good ones find balance with acidity, sugar, i.e. alcohol, and the ripeness has to be there too. So have one of these experiments for yourself if you're not sure about warm climate or cool climate. Grab a Chardonnay from California and a Chardonnay from Burgundy and taste them side by side, and maybe you'll see what I mean. If you have the means and the opportunity, grab a Cabernet-based wine from Bordeaux and a Cabernet-based wine from Paso Robles. I guarantee you'll be able to tell the difference. I certainly can. I'm going to finish off this glass of Chateau Moulin Riche from Saint Julian, and I'll probably have a glass or four of something else. I hope you guys are enjoying something great, either warm climate, cool climate, moderate climate, Kentucky bourbon whiskey, whatever. Cheers.